Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Graded Point Live. Tonight, we got us a special guest. We got Mr. Mike Murphy from his just completed but in demand Indiegogo Samurai and Dinosaurs. And I have to remember to say Samurai and Dinosaurs because there's no plural for samurai. Z.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just
No,
like
we went
samurais.
we went through that a whole bunch before we wrapped up the book. Like, just what is the name of it, and is there a plural or not? Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, was it like there's no like moose is moose. There's no mooses is moose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just moose.
Which is
Moose
weird
and dinosaurs.
Yep.
because there's mouse and mice. So
Yeah.
you think there'd be meese, like there are geese. Like
Right.
Yeah,
English
goose and
language
geese.
is retarded. Yeah.
Yeah, you used the R word, and that's going to get us like kicked off YouTube.
I thought that was just Twitter.
No, they kick you off YouTube for that. I think. I don't know. I don't care anymore.
I
It's
didn't
everywhere.
say retarded. I said retort it.
You just said. Never mind.
Retort it twice.
If you have to play it safe, I just go with Riri or Derpy.
Yeah. But then you're able. Was the ableist if you do that? Yeah.
They'll get you on something no matter what you say.
Oh yeah, definitely. So we got your Samurai and Dinosaurs graphic novel, history's noblest warriors and deadliest predators clash in a battle that will alter human history. So I'm guessing there's some time travel wibbly wobbly going on here.
Yeah, basically, and yeah, I can just give you like a quick elevator pitch if you want.
Go for it.
Okay, cool. So Samurai and Dinosaurs is it's a revenge-fueled epic that focuses on 8 samurai who are investigating a meteorite that's crashed down in feudal Japan and torn a hole in time that's allowing dinosaurs to run rampant across the countryside.
Mm-hmm.
The tagline for the book is "There's a thorn in time."
Very nice.
Ah.
You say yeah, no. And you said you got 8, and 8 is better than 7. So suck it, 7 samurai. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
uh, Doug Tenaple was giving me crap about that, and no, there's a reason that it's 8. The original group is 7, and then there's a latecomer to the party,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that's tied up in like one of the twists of the third act.
So Dirty
Nice.
Doug was giving you some crap for having one too
Yeah,
many
yeah,
samurai.
yeah.
Having more than 7.
I'm like, look, sir, I am a customer. I ordered Bigfoot Bill. You can't treat me this way.
Yeah. Get off your high horse. Oh, wait.
Exactly.
I like Doug.
Yeah, he's great, and that book is gorgeous.
Oh yeah. I've heard. I wish I could have gotten in on it, but money. But everybody who I've seen who's gotten theirs, it looks beautiful. Like
Yeah, it really is.
the artwork's good. I know he lost some money on the binding, because it's a hardback and everything, but it looks gorgeous.
Right,
It's
right.
a great looking book. And I'm just
Yeah.
kind of scrolling through and showing some of the pages that are in the book right now. So that man is almost naked. It looks like he was having fun with some women's.
Yeah. I describe it as like we're a hard PG-13.
Gotcha. So you might show the side of the boob, but not the whole boob, kind of thing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Whatever gets past the censors.
Yeah. Yeah. But I definitely get the vibe, of 7 Samurai a little bit. Just looking at what.
Yeah, I mean, the way I pitch the book to like movie buffs is it's the movie that I wish Akira Kurosawa and Ray Harryhausen made together, but never did.
Right.
So yeah, the director of Seven Samurai and Ray Harryhausen was kind of the godfather of special effects and like stop motion animation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we're still, like I said, you're full. You got the initial fully funded. Um,
Yeah. We
mhm,
we hit 6,000 on the night before. We were sitting at about 73% funding, and we were prepared to extend it out into April.
mhm.
We figured we could probably cover that ground like in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And I was talking with Edwin a bunch, and Edwin was talking with Ethan, and then I was talking with Ethan, and all of a sudden, like that second to last night,
Mhm.
Ethan's like, "Hey, why don't you hop on?" And I got this. And yeah, like within an hour and a half, like that remaining like 26, 27% was taken
Done.
care of like nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminded me. I remember when he had Bob Tucci on, and he had just started his campaign, and for the Indiegogo, he'd already done it on Kickstarter, but he was doing
Right,
Indiegogo,
right.
doing the Indiegogo to catch those people. And when he started that night on Ethan's show, he had like I think $410, and
Right.
then by the end of the night, he had like 18,000. I was like,
Exactly.
I mean, people joke, people like try to say something about it, but Ethan, he can't. I hesitate to use words kingmaker, but
Right.
his reach does help a lot of a lot of people, So
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like the community itself, number one, has been like so supportive of my wife and I and us relaunching our company and getting off the ground. But
hmm
like the support and just the kindness that he showed was like way above and beyond anything that we
hmm
were owed or whatever.
because I think there was a push to try to get you on earlier for your because we'll talk about the original campaign that didn't quite make it, and we'll talk
Sure.
about timing and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I remember seeing a big push on like his chat and everything. It's like get Mike Murphy on, get Mike Murphy on, and
Yeah.
and it was kind of like I don't know if it was yours or was somebody else's, but it might have been yours. It was like too late. It was like only like it was like 8 hours to go or something like that, and it was just like not enough time or something.
Yeah, like
hmm
the way I like to think of it was me and Crystal of the Good Night
hmm
and ooh, I'm blanking on the
But yeah, there
dude's
was
name,
another
but
one at
he's
the same time. Yeah, that was going on.
yeah,
hmm
I want to say his book was called Night Stalker or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
blanking.
yeah. It was
But
I know who he is, but I can't think of the name right now. But yeah,
I know, and I feel horrible because I've talked to him a bunch. He's a really cool guy.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah, like the three of us, like Ethan kind of put together as a package deal, and it was what it was. Like Crystal and the art by Francisco was kind of the cream of the crop,
hmm
and like that got pushed through, and like I was happy for her,
hmm
in all honesty, because that book is gorgeous,
hmm
and yeah, but like by towards the end of the second month, I'm like, okay, like we're gonna have to like retool some stuff and come
hmm
at this smarter in a few weeks.
Yeah, which is a good idea. Don't give up. It's just you learn from whatever mistakes you might have made, and like I said, retool, re up, and go for it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what.
and it worked. I mean, I listened to, I reached out to almost every backer from the first campaign and
hmm
ran a bunch of Twitter polls, and between all that stuff, I think we put together a leaner, smarter campaign than what I started with.
hmm Because I'm looking over your, just looking at the stretch goals right now, and you hit 8,000. Um, with the
Yeah, so yeah, speaking of,
yeah,
Francisco from The Good Night is going to be doing a bookmark for us.
yeah, that should sell itself. I mean, in all honesty, you could, you know what I mean? Because he's such a fantastic artist. Good gracious.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
and yeah, like we're just starting to talk now about what the bookmark's going to be, and I think it's going to be gorgeous.
yeah. Yeah, I see you got this $12,000 with a pinup gallery. And this is like a good who's who of great artists. In all honesty, like Kyung
Yeah,
Lee.
that's
Yeah.
that's yep. That's what we're really pushing hard for now.
hmm
So like I have the fulfillment date as September, but we're really hoping that by August we can have a lot of these books out because
hmm
the main book itself is done.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, with the pinup gallery, like we're going to be pushing towards that, I think, until the end of May. And if we can hit that, cool. And if not, I'm going to start locking it down so that we can get a final tally on how many books we have to print up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And at 15, an Ashcan doing a prequel. Yeah, I love that. That's a good idea, having a prequel kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. So with the prequel, like I'm doing that, and that's like in the tiers. I think that starts at the $30 level.
Mm-hmm.
So what the stretch goal would be for that is if we make it to 15, instead of doing it as an ash can, I'll be doing it as a full size 22-page comic.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I get you now. So the
Uh,
prequel comic will be written. Oh, you're going to draw it too. Okay.
yeah.
Going,
Yeah. So
going
like
all in on this
my
one,
day
huh?
job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like my day job is like I'm a freelance writer illustrator. But
What you got an Ashcan, but it's going to be full size if it gets to 15,000.
right, exactly.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. And then 18,000 trading card. Trading cards. That's like a big thing for a lot of campaigns. It's like I think people miss those. I think people miss trading cards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I was really surprised. Like I didn't have that in there at first, and I had a good like 15 or 20 people write to me like, "What are you doing? Like, put a trading card in there."
Yeah.
So I thought back to like the weird trading cards that I was into. So it'll be in the style of like those gross out cards.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. I'm just looking at the chat. Somebody responded to when we were talking about Doug TeNaples, said, "Mr. TeNaples, sir, this is a Wendy's." Seth says, "I demand the boob, the whole boob, and nothing but the boob," and he spells "butt" B-U-T-T. So, uh, I think some people would pay for lewd. Apparently,
Yeah, I have
version is like
I'll leave that to Slick Jimmy. Like he's kind of got a lock on the whole
cheese,
semi-lewd.
semi-lewd
Yep.
cheesecake style. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, so your main characters is your main character named Ren? Is that what I'm getting here, or the main?
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. So he's kind of the default main character, even though it really is an ensemble.
yeah, it's kind of like the same thing with Seven Samurai and the Magnificent Seven. Yul Brynner had to be the leader, or Kanbei had to be the leader in Samurai Seven. Or Seven Samurai. Excuse me, I get confused with the
Yeah,
anime.
exactly.
Well, the anime was pretty good too, but anyway.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah,
It's
I remember when anime was good.
yeah. Before we started firing voice actors for jelly beans.
Exactly.
So let me look at your tiers here. Go over that. So you got okay. So basically put a tier for a. Is that a thank you for support? I guess would they be listed in a like thank you page kind of thing or?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So like I had a handful of people that wanted that, but the truth is like less than a handful actually claimed it, so I
Yeah.
don't know that we'll be doing that again next time around.
Yeah, I saw like 4. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
At
it's
that point you should just let your smaller tier just be the digital copy and be done with it. Right.
right, right,
I mean, you're still gonna get thanked, so like
right.
that's the way out. Yeah. So $8 for
Yeah,
digital.
and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and Malin and I had speaks about the whole digital versus not having digital at all thing, and he swayed me a little bit, but I might still do a digital perk like the next time we do a project. I'm not sure yet.
What I've thought about that too because we're in the planning stages of our own project, and my thoughts on digital is what I'll probably do is offer it with a physical, right?
Sure,
Because
sure.
I understand like people like digital, that way they can look at it without having to get their book out and stuff like that. I just don't know if I would
Hmm.
like doing only digital because, you know what I mean? It's just like I get it, I get it, and it's like it's. And I hate to say it's not. There's no such thing as free money, but it's more easy money because you don't have to ship something,
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Worry
But
about print costs.
yeah, you don't have to worry about print costs and stuff. But at the same time, I don't know. Like I said, it's something to think about. I'll figure that out later. Speaking of mailing, I was going to joke with you. I was like, I notice I don't see I don't see a page count here, brother.
Uh-oh.
Because I've seen him review people's Indiegogos, and he's always like, I don't know where to pay. Where's the page count? Where's the page count?
Yep.
Where's the page count? I don't see the page count. Okay, you get an Oreo. Like that. How many
Yeah, I
pages
mean,
is it,
what
by the
helps
way,
it?
if I may ask, just so people know?
Yeah, sure. It's 110 pages.
Oh wow, yeah, that's really good for $20.
Oh,
Shit.
wow.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Okay, so this is a nice long story.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a full-size graphic novel. What helps is printing in black and white. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's still a good price
yeah,
for that much, that much book, as I would say. Yeah.
totally. Yeah, like if this was a full-color graphic novel, there's no way that would be $20.
Oh no, it had to be at the very least 30. At the very least.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of 30, digital print, digital print and prequel, so you get all of it in one package. That's nice.
hmm
A swag bag. Now, sir, what is in this swag bag?
So for the $50 level, you get everything at the $30 level. Plus, you're going to get an 11 by 17 poster of the main cover,
Mm-hmm.
which one of the things that we can't talk about just yet is I had the main cover on the page but took it down because there's going to be a new cover, and it's not going to be an alternate cover or its own tier. This is going to be the new cover for the book, and it's going to be by an artist who's beloved within the Comicsgate scene.
Okay.
But there's some things that we have to lock down before I can show it off and talk more about it.
Right. Understandable. Yeah.
So yeah. So you'll be getting a poster of the cover. You'll be getting 2 postcards, which focus on the 2 big shots that everyone really likes from the book. The city reveal of Ren returning to the city after several years, and the splash image of the raptors attacking for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll also get and it's in quotes, a production still drawn by me. So how when you look at extras on a Blu-ray or a DVD, there's always the production still section.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's going to be a playful illustration of me sitting behind the director's chair and Sergio right in front of the camera with a stop motion dinosaur, and the cast is going to be in the background reacting to the dinosaur.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So all that stuff comes at the $50 level.
Nice. And then you got support the troops. I'm guessing that's for sending some comics overseas. So for the troops.
Yeah, you used to be able to do it through the USO. I think Mike Miller did it for the first run of Lone Star.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't do that anymore. So we're going to be going through a site called Operation Paperback.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Neat.
So yeah, well, anyone that backs that level, you get 2 copies of the books, and 3 will be sent out to Operation Paperback.
See, that's cool. And you got 5 claims, so that's 5 times 3. That's 15.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 15 are going. It's a it's a little more.
As a matter of fact,
I would say it's a little more. But I would I'd definitely tell people, if you can afford it, give these these guys are over there, especially U.S. They're over there trying to keep us free essentially, and
exactly.
Give them something fun to read at least.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think it was Mike S. Miller who was like, "What are you doing? Get a support the troops tier on there."
Nice.
It's like
Sergio and I sat down and looked at the pages that in the first campaign that people were most receptive to, and he actually mailed out, because Sergio is based in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
He actually mailed out from Spain those 6 pages to me, and we listed them as individual tiers for sale.
Mm-hmm.
And 4 of them are gone so far. So these 2 are the only ones that are left.
Okay, I gotcha. So yeah, because so you got one to claim on that one,
Right.
and the same thing here for the page 48.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, still need to be claimed. And a character intro art bundle, $500. It's not bad though.
Neat.
Original,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, like if you're a big like kung fu movie fan or not.
Well, I've seen enough Jackie Chan
Yes.
and things like that.
Yes.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So so like if you've ever seen like a Shaw Brothers movie, they almost always open with the opening credits, and like all the main cast members kind of show off their unique fighting style, so you know who's who and who can do what.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to homage that, and so like each character gets a flashback, and the lead into the flashback is that Shaw Brothers splash, showing off them and their name. So yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
cool.
Cool. I mean, I like. I mean, I've everything I've seen so far, I like. So, like,
Well, thank you, man.
yeah, it's good. It's good. Trying to think here. I think we went over that. Went over that. I always try to make sure I hit the. I want to hit the campaign before we get off, too far off topic, because that always happens.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's all good, man. I'm just here for the conversation.
Yeah. See.
It is cool that Midnight Images is in the chat and says, "Hey, Mike, so glad you got funded
Hey.
this time around. Promoted hard for you both times. Can't wait to get it. You got a
That's
fan
awesome.
in there."
Yeah. Yeah, Midnight. He's been around. He's been coming in here a while. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah, like there have been so many like complete strangers that we've gotten to know over the past couple months that have been like so helpful with when it comes to like marketing and pushing the book.
Yeah, it was like here's what's you're gonna find this funny because like we were talking about we were talking about Crystal McGee a few minutes ago, and she was our first guest for this show, right? Our first ever guest, as far as somebody who was doing a comic and things like that. And the night that she came on, it was the night that a certain a certain guy with his last name might have something to do with rice in Spanish. Del Arroz.
Okay.
Okay. Night and like went off. As soon as we got offline, she's like, "Hey guys, I want to tell you something." I was like, "What's that?" And she showed us. I was like, "Oh my, oh my."
Yeah, that was a thing.
Mm-hmm. And so I joked with her and I said, "So you see, you get on here and you get a little controversy. Now your book gets sold."
Exactly.
It was purely coincidental, but it's just. But we take
5. Come here to collect controversy.
Yeah. between Piper and and things that happen around us, there's always some controversy going on.
Well, sometimes it's unavoidable in this scene, man.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah, because like we always joke that she came on our show, and that's like, and then look at that, a couple weeks later you got funded.
Right.
Not, I just leave out the whole, for one of her stretch goals. I think it was her $10,000 stretch goal. She would add hoodies to one of the tiers. And we went crazy about the hoodies. Like, dude, hoodies, yeah, put the hoodies on there. Yeah, Doug, gotta get up here, gotta get the hoodies, And we joked with her, she needs to put a tier for $20,000 where you get pants. So, because you get a shirt, and then now you get a hoodie. So if you get pants, you got a full ensemble.
Right. I mean, the only place you can go from there is shoes.
That's what I said. And that's what I told her. I said, next campaign, you put a thing for shoes. Like, get some special Nikes or Adidas made for.
Yep. Get some Crystal Jordans going.
Yeah, there you go. Wait, the stream is already getting derailed. Well, we already went over this stuff. You know how it goes.
We're still on topic. We're still talking about Indiegogo stuff.
Yeah. Let me explain. And he should know.
It's kind of on the rails.
Yeah, Mata knows. He's been here long enough. Like, how it goes. we talk about the campaign at the beginning because that's what's important, right? We go, we go a little off the rails, but we still talk about stuff that's concerning comics and things. Then I come back for one last pitch at the end, and then we go offline.
Getting derailed can be anything from talking about like monster trucks to poop to Star Trek. Like it's all
We didn't talk
over.
about poop the other night.
Yeah, there was that. Yeah, and that was bad because that started and ended the stream.
Pretty much. Oh, by the way, so speaking of Star Trek, Mike,
Yeah, what's up?
let me ask you a question.
I didn't do it.
Yeah, I'm going to do this because I'm having a dispute with my co-host here.
All right, what's up? What's up?
Best Star Trek series.
Oh, don't do that to me, man.
Come on, putting you on the spot.
Okay, like, can I do the? I heard Ed Brubaker say this shit once about the Shield and the Wire.
Yeah.
Okay. Next Gen is better, but Deep Space Nine is cooler.
Thank you.
Dude, that just meant we both won.
Fine, I'll take it.
All right. Yeah.
She was giving me crap. She said, "Deep Space Nine sucked." I'm like, "What? What are you, a communist? Where'd you come from?"
Deep Space Nine is like the best thing.
It was just boring to me.
But to be fair, she only got through the first two seasons, which were
I mean, look, with Star Trek in general, like you have to give yourself a two season buffer because it really takes them about that long to kind of sort of start figuring out what they are as a show.
Well, see, the Next Generation managed to keep me on for the 2 seasons and then kept going. Whereas Deep Space Nine, I went 2 seasons and was like, all right, I've been sitting for 2 fucking seasons. This shit boring.
You didn't get the problem is you didn't get to the Dominion War. The kind of the start of it, and you didn't even get to the Klingon.
I just needed to get past the 2 season.
It really picks up when the Klingon Cardassian War starts. That's when things start to pick up because then they bring Worf in. Actually, let Worf be a badass instead of Worf being the punch monkey.
Watch him go fly over a railing.
Yeah,
over and over and over.
Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, that's why we saw. Worf is like, it's always kind of like in any story. You got your heavy, right? And Worf's the heavy in TNG, right? So he's your heavy. So if he gets beat up, then the bad guy must really be something.
Although Data's supposed to be physically stronger than him.
Well, Data is like physically stronger than just about anybody in the galaxy. But
yeah, so you would think that they would use that, like, oh crap, man, like even Data can't, whatever.
I think it's the point of like Data doesn't, it's like he don't really fight. He's just like
right.
Although they were both supposed to be security officers.
Yeah, but you're not going to get Brent Spiner to learn fight choreography.
Yeah. Well, Michael Dorn was definitely all into that. He's like, all right, I'll do it.
That's why they mostly just had Brent Spiner grabbing people by the neck and pretending.
Yeah, doing the I'll lift you up with my tremendous strength.
Yeah, and tossing him, which better displayed, the fact that he's a robot, and so it should be kind of effortless like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we could go to Data could be programmed with fighting skills, but then it would be, like you said, Brent Spiner would have to actually learn how to fight.
But then, then he would have to.
Or learn how to choreograph a fight. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that's not happening, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, the Michael Dorn main thing I judged it by was I managed to get over the 2-season hump with the Next Generation, but I was also younger too.
Sure, that always helps. Like, I think part
I wasn't
of it
thinking as deeply into each episode when I was first watching them because I was a kid and I was just like, "Oh, this is awesome." Whereas Deep Space Nine came along, where I'm more critical and like a little older, and so after 2 seasons, and I was like, "This has been."
I get you, but like, man, middle of season 3 is like when they just start like tearing into it on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah. I think that's when they have that's because they have the that's like the Maquis starts up.
Yep.
I think that's also the I want to.
Yeah. See, like I'm just like, so my wife likes Star Trek, but she doesn't love Star Trek, so she has like a lot of blind spots with this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting to get her to watch.
Same thing with TNG. It's like Piper said, when you're younger, you might just look past it because you're not thinking about it. But when you go
Right.
back, here's how you can really tell when the.
I have a feeling because Wesley annoyed me when I was like 5, so I'm pretty sure he would have annoyed me.
It's worse now.
Ooh,
I think I was older. I
buddy.
think I was older than 5. I was older than 5. I had to
Yeah.
have been. I'd have to look and see how old I was. But I know I already didn't like Wesley and thought he was annoying then.
Yeah.
So when I go back, I'm like, oh my god, this isn't the Shut Up Wesley episode. Let's skip it.
Yeah. Like sometimes we'll just leave BBC America on in the background when we're like,
Same.
and like I'm watching some of those old TNG episodes, and I'm like, oh, buddy, these do not age well.
I've always said you could tell when TNG got better is when the uniforms changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of the same thing with Deep Space Nine too. They upgraded the uniforms to the ones that were like, fit over and had the little collar coming out and stuff like that.
Right.
When they went to those uniforms, started getting better, and then of course they shipped to what I call the war uniforms when they got which I think are the coolest uniforms they've ever had. Was like that gray, uniform, but then they had the neck piece. You could see you can see a clear delineation. It's like uniform change, things got better. It's just funny how that works out. It's like the Picard episodes were better, the Riker episodes were better.
I like all the episodes with Q and certain bad guys were like my favorite.
Yeah, Q was always great too. But
yeah.
Well,
I
what's
think the
crazy
Next Generation is the one that changed what the colors meant, and that was
confusing.
confusing. That's why I was like, Data was security, but then like his job changed.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, he just became navigation for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like he stopped being security and started
Yeah, because Reds were supposed to be the send them off to die kind of people.
Exactly.
Yeah, see, him and Worf were supposed to be Reds, and then they gave him yellow.
Mm-hmm. Because go ahead.
What's crazy is, have either of you ever seen, like, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, what's his name? Why am I blanking on his name? The guy that played Kirk, William Shatner.
Yeah, Shatner. Mm-hmm.
Like he went on this like crazy thing where like he just did like 3 or 4 Star Trek documentaries back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And he did one called Panic on the Bridge, I think, that like is all about like all the production stuff that went into getting Next Gen off the ground, and like it covers a lot of why the show was so stilted and weird for like 2 years and then kind of start growing into its own thing. And basically Roddenberry had this strict set of guidelines for the writers' room, and one of the guidelines was they couldn't use drama to tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
Like
what? That explains a lot.
And also, like I think one of his other things was like there would be no ongoing threads.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That like you couldn't you couldn't like reference another thing to get to another point, essentially. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that
so
really
you could,
was back when most TV was very episodic and not
ongoing, like what do you call ongoing?
Yeah.
And of course it was ongoing, but you know what I mean. It's like you couldn't use like the 2-parter is the most you got.
Yeah.
And
that was a big deal. If it was going to have a to be continued, was a big deal. Now it's pretty normal for entire things to be one long story with character development and stuff. But it used to be the characters were very stagnant, and each episode was its own self-contained story with those characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a Monster of the Week type setup.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that format, and then on top of that you have this rule of like none of the characters can have problems with each other.
Yeah, everybody has to get along, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the writers were just losing their minds. So it really wasn't until like he kind of stepped down from running the show that they were kind of allowed to make the show into something.
Yeah. I heard somebody, I mean, it was kind of a joke, I said, but it's not wrong that Star Trek told its best stories after Roddenberry died.
Yeah, it's kind of true, man. Yeah. I mean, nothing but respect for like what he managed to create during his lifetime. But
yeah. Like I said,
big respect for him coming up with it, and I think one of the reasons him being so strict was because that's what was working for him.
Mm-hmm.
and so he decided that's what the show needed to be.
Yeah, like the documentary goes into how like Kirk and Picard kind of mirror him at different points in his life.
Mm-hmm.
How
Nice.
one was more reckless with without abandon, and Picard was more reserved and thoughtful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't know. So yeah, Panic on the Bridge. Like anyone listening should check out that documentary. I thought it was really good.
That sounds like good. I had to check that out myself. But yeah, that was because the one thing I really like about like I said, I like Deep Space Nine is my favorite. Me
Yeah.
and my other friends have talked about it before. The one reason I like it is because most of the time when you're like Roddenberry, especially ones that he started, because he didn't start Deep Space Nine, he was
Mm-hmm.
already gone at that point. Is that we showed, we finally have a story where it shows that space communism isn't all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah,
Right.
It's like
that's true.
get a crew out here on the outskirts, pretty much, out in the middle of nowhere, and dealing with all the stuff that like Earth doesn't have to deal with because it's Earth, you know.
Right.
And it's so
Right.
far,
And watch how fast things fall apart.
and watch how things fall apart. Yeah, it's like now like all of a sudden okay, now we got Federation citizens wilding out. They're defecting. They left the Federation. They're starting a war. Oops.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, it's great.
Oops, the Klingons are wilding out. They just started a war with the. Now they're starting a war with us. Oh no, no.
Almost
Now there's a new
that I
there's
appreciated.
another galactic presence out here. Now we're starting a war with them. Well, the Klingons are back on our side at least.
Right.
One thing I did appreciate from the 2 seasons that I did see watch of Deep Space Nine is that even without Roddenberry, it still felt 100% like Star Trek, just stationary Star
Yeah.
Trek.
Yeah,
I guess.
that's the
But
thing.
it was still a soap opera to me, but
Mhm.
it felt like Star Trek, the soap opera, not
Mhm.
the farther that we got away, like Voyager and stuff like that, everything that came after, the
Mhm.
more series or separate series that came after, the less it felt like Star Trek, and the more it felt like a sci-fi show dressed as Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I can see that.
Yeah, I get that, and it's kind of like that's another
Deep
reason.
Space Nine still felt like Star Trek, even when it was doing its Melrose Place shit.
Yeah, well, that's another thing that when DS9 took off was when they got the Defiant, and they had a
Right.
ship essentially that they could use. And
Yeah.
I like how Razorfist describes the Defiant. He says the USS Defiant, aka Cisco's motherfucking pimp hand. Basically, designing a ship that is designed its only purpose was to fight the Borg.
Exactly.
But you're looking at a guy, you've seen the first episode, he lost his wife to the Borg. That's why he resented Picard at first,
Right.
And so him channeling that into designing a warship, which the Federation didn't have warships,
Right.
They had science vessels that could, that were able to defend themselves, but they weren't warships. No, yeah, there was no bones about the Defiant. It was a warship.
And even that first episode, like I remember as a kid, like that was one of my first moments where like I recognized what writing and craft was,
Yeah.
because I understood like, oh well, this is our eyes into the world for this show, with Cisco, and here's Picard, who I've known and loved for years, and through this frame, he's kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Like that just, as I remember as a kid, that just blew my mind.
Mm-hmm. And once again, it's like if Roddenberry had been there, DS9, it couldn't have told that story because it couldn't have harkened
No
back
way.
to that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been able to harken back to the Battle Wolf 359. So
I mean,
Right.
because still, highly DS9's big thing was you're taking all these kind of people and sticking them on a space station. So,
yeah,
he wouldn't have been able to write that because there's no way that many people, that many races.
yeah. But I think that was another thing that was good about DS9. It actually showed us like other races that we hadn't seen regularly.
For sure. Yeah.
Because we got to see the Cardassians regularly, and
Right.
By the way, Garrick is probably one of the best characters ever written.
100%.
Yeah, talk about a nuance. That's like a very nuanced
Right.
character. Like,
Right.
what did somebody say? Because I think somebody said, "Do you ever tell the truth?" He said, "Why tell the truth when a lie works just as good?" Like,
Exactly.
it's like, love this guy.
Well, it's kind of like what Straczynski said about Babylon 5, and it's weird that they came out around the same time. Like,
Hmm.
it really is just kind of Casablanca in space, and you're just watching all these people who hate each other kind of stuck together and forced to interact.
Yeah.
Like, it's such an obvious like way to tell dramatic stories in a sci-fi setting, and I'm
Hmm.
surprised like just they hadn't thought of it prior to this.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, and that's what I like. The whole show, with DS9 started off with a conflict. It's like, you
Right.
know, you got a captain, or commander. He wasn't captain yet. Got a commander showing up who didn't want to be there. You know,
Right.
having to deal with a situation and deal with a captain that he didn't like because he blamed him for the death of his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Also having to deal with the conflict of the Bajorans and Major Kira who didn't want them there. You know.
Right.
And so and then, and also I got this wormhole thing, and if I don't do something about this, like, I could actually end up starting a war again. So,
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, it's better.
yeah, that's what
Like,
it's like.
it's just better.
It is like some episodes are slow, but like some of I really like. I think I really like the mile a minute ones. It's just like, bam, bam, hitting you with all this stuff. It's like, oh no, slow down,
Yeah. My heart.
But I remember seeing, because Avery Brooks hardly ever does like the convention circuit and things like that. So you very rarely hear him talk about, DS9, because he's one of those actors. Like, I do my role, and once I'm done with the role, I'm done with it, right?
Right. Right.
And he has done. I think he did like a summit of the captains one time at some thing where it was like him and Shatner and Patrick Stewart and
Yeah, that was another one of those documentaries too.
yeah, and Kate and Sam Beckett,
Acula.
yeah, Quantum Leap guy. Uh,
Yeah.
I said I joked with, we had that joke the other night. I said, people, that you won't remember Scott Bakula for Enterprise. You remember him for Quantum Leap. Let's be honest.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's just the way it is. I was more into Star Wars, and even then, I'm not a huge Star Wars guy. I like Star Wars too. I mean, honestly, I like Star Wars. I mean, I was, how to put this? I mean, I like Star Wars. I was one of those people. I was in line when the prequel trilogy came out. Maybe not so much.
Sure.
Not so much later on when it was like, oh no, where are we going? Even though I thought Revenge of the Sith was really good, for what it was.
Yeah, I mean, out of the three, I can deal with that one.
Yeah, because it finally set us up to, here we're finally here.
Right. Right.
The only problem I always had, I don't know if you ever watched like the stuff like Clone Wars or anything like that went along with that.
Dude, to me, the Clone Wars is like the
Which,
only thing that I consider an actual prequel.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
said, if we had got that Anakin in the prequels,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
then we would have been like, when he became Vader, we would actually be invested in it. But
Oh, 100%, man.
but the Anakin that we got, it was just a sniveling, whiny little crybaby, and so we knew he's going to
Yeah,
become Darth Vader because he never did anything right. You know,
of course, of course.
that's why I like the Anakin
Yeah,
they portrayed in Clone Wars, because he was sure of himself. He had, he had his dark moments, but he was struggling to get past them. He was actually, he was like overcoming them. Like even the part, the time when he found out that, you're going to turn to the dark side. He's, no, I'll never do that.
right, right.
It was not. It wasn't
Yeah,
like, Go ahead. Yeah.
no, I was just gonna say, and like one of my favorite moments was that two-parter they did where they go to the like the force sensitive planet, and Ahsoka has her walking into the tree moment,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, she encounters like an older version of herself, and she's like, "If you stay with Anakin, I won't exist." I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh man, it's so good."
Exactly. Yeah. That was like, that whole thing. And it tells you, like, you got the story of the clone troopers, like
Yep.
like And I mean, some people had a problem with Rebels, but I actually like Rebels because at least it didn't just discount Clone Wars. It continued the story essentially.
Yeah, like I still have to make my way through Rebels. I think I got to about halfway through the first season and just life got in the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But yeah, it's definitely on my list.
yeah. Just leave. You can leave Resistance off your thing. That's garbage.
Oh yeah, no, I have no interest.
Yeah, but it's like, oh, this is like telling of the time right before leading up to episode 7. It's like, well,
Exactly.
well, I won't have nothing to do with this then, because who cares?
Yeah, man, and I guess it's topical because of the trailer, the teaser trailer for 9. Like, I'm one of those people. I didn't necessarily have a problem with Force Awakens. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I understand why they did what they did. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars had kind of become so big that if you're going to reintroduce it into the setting of like a movie theater,
Mm-hmm. You
you
might as
kind of
well
have to like
do a quote retelling of the yeah.
yeah, like hey, hey, general audiences that aren't nerds and haven't been into this stuff their entire lives.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Star Wars? Here's what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and like my thing was, well, okay, I understand why they did that. Now what matters is what they do with the next two, and they just completely shit the bed.
Well, good old as Ethan calls him, Roundhead Ryan Johnson.
Roundhead Ryan.
Yeah, but like when he was talking about subverting expectations, me and Piper say, "Oh, you were subverting expectations. People were expecting a good movie, and gave him a bad one.
Exactly.
Huh, take that."
Yeah, like at a certain point, it just came off like what Lindelof was doing when he was writing the script for Prometheus. Like it
Mm-hmm.
just came out like you could almost see him at his keyboard being like, "What if it wasn't LV-427? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what if it wasn't this? What if it wasn't that?" And it's like, dude, just tell the story that people want to be told.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, you can change some things like story beats and things like that, but people they want that payoff, right?
Right.
It's like Ethan put up a
Like
thing the other, like somebody made a fan art thing where it showed inside the Millennium Falcon. It showed Han, Leia, Luke, and Lando all in the Falcon, right? And he said,
Right.
"We'll never
Right,
get
right, right.
this. We'll never get this scene
Exactly.
because they fucked up."
Yeah, like, yeah, like as soon as they announced like the new trilogy, like I said from day one, I'm like, well, obviously the first shot has to be old man Luke staring out at the two setting suns. Like, obviously that's the first shot of the movie, right? Like, and nope. Like, why would we get what we want?
Yeah, exactly. What's the point, right? Oh, and then one thing that my friends love to meme on about. Now remember, in Return of the Jedi, what did Luke say to his father, who had killed a bunch of Jedi, killed a bunch of people, killed children? So
Right.
Anakin Skywalker was not a good person at this point, right? What does he say to him? Father, I still see good in you.
Yep.
Right? But when he has a vision about his nephew, right? That he could go bad. So it's like, it's like my nephew's going to turn evil. Better kill him.
Right. Right. I better stab him in his face in his sleep.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what? Well, we got to subvert expectations,
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan.
I mean, the only thing that was good in that movie is like Yoda smacking Luke in the head with his cane.
Yeah, totally.
Like
and the thing with R2 playing the hologram, and he's like, "That's a dirty trick."
Mm-hmm.
Like those are two really cute moments, but that doesn't justify like an entire 2 hours wasted and Carrie Fisher's final performance, essentially laying in a bed.
Yeah, and give us old Admiral Holdo. Wow, that was a great idea, Roundhead. Great idea.
Yeah, like Akbar is my wife's favorite character, and when that happened, she was just heartbroken.
Did you hear about what the voice actor for Akbar said? That was great.
I know, wasn't that great?
Yeah, he was straight up saying, "Who's Holdo? You know who should have saved everybody? Admiral Akbar." I was like, "Yeah, get him."
Yeah.
And then the IGN, the guy that works for IGN, he's like, Oh man, I was like, he just like, oh, whoa, 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 don't step on the toes. The big D's watching, don't do it.
Right, and essentially that's what Ivan, what's his name, the guy that's doing the re-edit, like that's what he's doing. He's having him be the one that saves the fleet.
Yeah, I love it. But what was it? There was a comment, and I talked about this the other night, but I just love this. Somebody made a comment online, which this is just one of those people. It's more about the virtue signal than it is about if it was actually good or not, right? Because a lot of people who are saying it was good are just doing it for the virtue signal,
right
at this point. And there was this guy, he was talking to a girl, and they found out she liked Star Wars. He said, but then I found out she wasn't worth dating because she didn't like The Last Jedi. And she didn't understand the nuance of it. And so I quote tweeted this guy, and I made a tweet. I said, Becky, you just don't understand. He says, we were trying to subvert expectations. Much like Rick and Morty, I feel this is too smart for you. Because, there's some people who say, oh, Rick and Morty's just too smart for the average person. I was like, no, it's not really all that smart. It's just
fucking retarded.
It's like, it's like, look, I enjoy Rick and Morty, but it's not
deep.
Not effing.
It's not deep.
Yeah. I still can feel my brain cells dying when I watch it. I know what I'm getting into.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, it's about, okay. The whole idea is like Rick is supposed to be kind of our nihilistic side. Like, who cares? We're all going to die anyway, so you just do what you want.
Right.
I mean, that's if there's anything deep about it, that's as deep as you're going to get. Right there,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And whereas everybody around him is trying to be human, it's like, no, no, we actually have feelings and things like that,
Right.
And Yamada just said, no, Rick and Morty is cynicism pretending to be intelligence. That's
It still makes for some pretty fun.
It's funny, I like. I like. It's a funny show. I'm not, taking away from it. It doesn't help that
But I agree, it is cynicism, and it just happens to be
it doesn't help that Dan Armin is a flaming SJW.
Well, yeah, like I was gonna say, like, cynicism.
So,
yeah. Most of the time, he's just like, "Hey, I'm just here to make the funny voices and get a paycheck."
Exactly. Yeah, he's like, I'm just I'm just here to collect my money, man. That's it.
Right.
That's great that you don't. Okay, I get it. You don't like the president. It's okay. I understand. Can I do my voice work now? Why are we still talking? What? Impeach? What are you dude? Like, I just want to do my job.
I mean, we could alienate half the people that watch this show, or we could just keep making money. But I guess we'll do it your way.
Whenever that comes up, I always go back to what Michael Jordan said. Somebody asked him, why don't you campaign for people and stuff like that? He said, I got fans that are Republicans and fans that are Democrats, and they all buy Air Jordans. I'm not going to alienate any of them,
Exactly.
So I was like, the smart man, when you are a performer or something like that, and your idea is to sell thing or product, don't alienate half of your audience. It's like I saw a tweet today from old Mags Fasaggio, and she said, "What's the point of working for a publisher if you have to promote your own work?" I'm like, well, the point is to make more money,
right?
Because
if you want to strip like the money argument out of it, I don't know, because you take pride in the work that you do and you're happy that it exists and you want people to know that it exists. I don't know. I don't get that mindset at all.
Yeah, I don't understand it. It's kind of like, I think it was it her or somebody else who did they were doing Transformers at one point, and they were actually talking about, I want a socialist, society, but here I am shilling some capitalist,
right.
This.
Yeah, that was her. Yeah.
And I'm like, then don't write it. Yeah, when guess what? When it says Transformers on it, I got news for you. To sell to sell toys, right? That's all that matters when it comes. Hasbro doesn't give a shit about your politics. They want to sell toys.
Like if I was her editor or like the Hasbro rep, I'd be like, we don't have to hire you to write this book. There's a long line of people that would be happy to.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, could you, we can find somebody who actually has a passion for these characters and let them write it.
Right. Right.
So, as soon as I saw
Signal while at the same time still collecting the paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah, that bugs me. People like that really does. Like, and it's funny because I remember when they were talking to her in interviews, like talking about, oh, I know so much about the character, this and that and the other, and blah blah blah. I was like, she has no idea what she's talking about.
If and I chose to go the route that we did by, officially like declaring ourselves as Comicsgate, like this, I think the comic industry breeds people like her with her mindset because like I always tell this story, like one of the moments last year that kind of pushed us over the edge and made us go, okay, maybe this isn't the industry we want to work in, is we took a meeting with IDW.
Okay.
And like we take the tour and we go to X person's office. Like I won't say their name, but
yeah, fair enough.
We get to the office, and the first thing out of his mouth is, "Well, none of us are doing this to get rich."
Um.
And I'm like, at that point, I had been so indoctrinated into the idea of like, this is a poor existence, making comics.
Yeah.
That I just kind of nodded my head, and I was like, well, yeah, why would anyone want money? And like an hour later, we're driving home, and I'm like, wait, I want to get rich. Like,
yeah.
What are you talking about? So, like, I'm glad that whole thing ended up falling through because, yeah, it would have been like $300 or $400 to write some Ninja Turtles comic, and it's like, so I'm gonna work on this for like the better part of a month, and at the end of it, I won't even be able to pay rent. Like, what is the point of this?
Yeah, and that's kind of what that's the thing. You see all these people out there, doing the thing. I mean, and we're talking about like even what I would call the higher tier writers and artists today, working for almost pennies on the dollar when you get down to it.
Right.
I mean, yeah, people like Jim Lee and even Ethan when he was, still in they got I'm sure they got a decent rate, because they,
sure.
They're Ethan Van Sciver and Jim Lee and people like that, But
yeah,
like this new crop that's come along and stuff, they're not getting that. No way.
No way.
There's no way they're getting that. I mean, like I said, you've been in it for it sounds like long enough to know what the rates are and things like that, and it's not. I mean, like $400, really? That doesn't even like that barely. If I paid my car payment, I'd have $5 left over.
Right.
That's it. I mean, that's the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and like that lines up with what I've heard from others for like work from similar like mid-tier companies. Like it's just this thing of like these companies are trying to get by on paying borderline slave wages under the auspice of, well, you get to say that you're writing, X property. Like, isn't that good enough?
That sounds just like I always like go back, because I'm a wrestling fan, so I always use like I use WWE terms or wrestling terms and things like that. So I always say like that sounds just like when Vince would tell somebody, but you get to work for WWE.
Exactly.
Okay, but can I get paid to work for W? Kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm doing this, and you're not giving me health insurance and all this. I mean, granted, if somebody gets hurt on the job, yeah, they'll take care of you, kind of thing.
Right.
They'll take care of your injury. But let's say you got a cold and you had to go to the doctor. Well, that's out of your pocket.
Exactly.
So it's like that's why now their competition's coming, and one of the big things is like, oh, we're giving our wrestlers full health coverage. I was like, well, of course everybody's running that way, even if they might make a little less than they would. But their expenses are covered, So
for sure.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? So, I mean, and we're talking like, I mean, it's not like they're getting bankrolled by a fucking NFL owner. So it's not like they're getting, this ain't no cheap knockoff thing. So, But that's the
Right.
thing. It's like, but you'll work for the WWE. It's like, oh, great. But I'm not gonna. You're going to pay me like $400,000 to work here. You know, I'm not going to do it for free.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
like I said, I just use that as a bigger comparison, kind of thing, because
right.
it's
Yeah. So like, uh, so like when you see someone like a Mags or whoever like writing or drawing 4 or 5 different books within like a month or two,
mm-hmm,
like the reason they're doing it isn't because they genuinely give a shit about what they're working on. It's because they're doing enough work to meet the minimum level to say they actually have a full-time job.
mm-hmm. And it can actually like live.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like because like me and another one of our co-hosts, he's not here tonight, obviously, because we're the only 3 here. But
Wow,
he
good job.
yeah, he likes to make mention of like these people, like most of them like live in New York, which is already the most expensive place to live in the world, just about
Yeah. Yeah.
or San Francisco, somewhere they live in somewhere that's expensive already. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then they probably got a studio apartment that probably costs like at least $3,000 a month that they're sharing with somebody else, more than likely.
Of course. Yes.
So, and then they're making these, like you said, borderline slave wages, and barely get about, and they think, but they've been caught up. They're kind of like you said, they've been indoctrinated by the thing. They're like, oh yeah, that's fine to only get like a slave wage for writing Spider-Man. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
like
So,
like I'll tell you this, like I had a friend who I relayed all that information to, and when I was like, yeah, that it's not happening, like it's kind of falling apart and I'm not going to pursue it or try to make it happen.
mm-hmm,
And that's a ridiculous sum of money. Like
mm-hmm.
his honest to God reaction was, "Are you crazy? I'd suck a dick to write the Ninja Turtles for $500."
How
I'm
about
like, no, that's the wrong answer.
yeah, that's definitely right. What happened? Like, Mike, how old are you? If I may
Oh,
ask.
I'm 37.
So you're 30. So you're around my age, because I'm 39. So, Piper, you're in your 30s. We'll just say that.
Yeah.
Women don't tell their ages. But the whole
That's fine.
thing. What happened? What happened when it's bad to make money?
I want to say someone like your boy Zach like has it narrowed down to about like 2013 or 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Um, living here in Portland, I can tell you that from where I'm sitting, like I first started noticing a shift around 2010.
That's about when I noticed it. Yeah, just from
Like
observing, like looking and seeing,
yeah, it became this thing of like, like my wife and I, we were really young when we moved out here from Chicago, and like it was that thing that you can only do when you're young and dumb of like,
Mm-hmm.
we're just going to go out to the West Coast and make comics and everything will work out, right?
Yeah.
So when we first moved here and kind of immersed ourselves in the scene, like it was this thing of like who's doing what, and oh, isn't that cool? And oh, so and so can help you get to here, which can lead to this. And yeah, somewhere around like 2010, it kind of became the Mags thing of like, well, I guess I could work on that, or I could just publish another zine. And really when I started noticing it was when like Patreon started becoming a thing, because
Mm-hmm.
then they could subsidize their disdain for commercialism and capitalism. They could subsidize that by
Mm-hmm.
just saying like by just e-begging.
Yeah, the Zoe
Yeah.
Quinn method of living.
I
Yeah,
think she helped
exactly.
popularize it, honestly.
Yeah, she helped, and then everybody else jumped on, and they made more money than she did. It's kind of funny, but it's funny because those people. It's like I always find it funny because like people like well he got kicked off, but like somebody like Sargon or people who were making a lot of money on
Right.
Patreon, but he was supplying a product which was his videos, which was entertainment.
Right.
So he was
Yeah.
supplying something like Medicare. I think he makes like 4,000 or 5,000 a month or something like that. But he's not regular because what do they say? They call it gym time. It's like he'll put it out when it's ready. But he's still
Yeah, yeah.
supplying a product. I mean, hell, I find it funny that the biggest commies on the internet, which are the what are they called? They run a podcast. God bless. Chapo Trap House, right? $100,000 a month, and they are the biggest commies on the internet.
Right.
Yeah. So
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah.
If you think about it, it makes sense because they keep all the money for themselves.
True, but at the same time, at least they are supplying a product. You know,
That's true.
so I give
That's
them
true.
credit for at least supplying a product of a podcast. You know, so
Sure.
I've always said it's funny how the commies are being very capitalistic.
Yeah, it's funny how that works, right?
And but like I said, somebody like Zoe Quinn, I think at one point she was getting like $4,000 a month for existing.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I'm I'm a big gamer too, and like one of my freelance jobs as a writer is I do game reviews and stuff like that. So
nice.
yeah, I lived through that whole thing.
Oh yeah, we did too. I was
Oh,
like, I want to say front lines. I mean, I was a little, my account's about like it was now. It is now, but it was like
Right.
very front lines. Of course, when I say front lines, we were going around calling people bitches and stuff like that. Ah, you suck, kind of thing. We were trolls. We were just trolling around.
Right.
Finding people to make fun of, kind of thing. Like there was this one guy. I'm not gonna say his name, but he was so one of those people who's like, well, Gamergate is the they're misogynist and this, that, and the other, and blah blah blah. So my friend took his avatar and just started putting on his avatar. He just wore his avatar like we said, a skin suit, right? And would just comment every time he commented, just to mess with him, right?
Yeah.
And he would
Yeah,
always,
yeah.
because they can't help it. They always got to comment, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so he would say stuff like, "Oh, your wife is you're a cuck. Your wife do this, blah blah blah." And at one point where it finally happened is like, because my friend, he's half black, right? So he said, I can get away with saying things that some people couldn't. So he posted a picture of a guy. It was a white guy and a black guy with nothing on below the waist, obviously.
Yeah.
And of course, the black guy was extremely well hung, and the white guy was not. And the caption was, "Why fuck white men?" and that's what got him blocked finally. That finally got him blocked. He said, "Yeah." I said, "You broke him. It was done." He was done at that point. He said, "I can't do it anymore."
Yeah, man, it was crazy. Like once the whole Gamergate thing started really going, at that point, I was writing for two different sites, and from up high from both sites, like it was made very crystal clear to all of us writers, like you do not mention this in any context for any reason.
Mm-hmm. There was, yeah,
And
I heard that a lot before they
Yeah.
had to change over at like Escapist.
Right.
Before Alexander Macris, had to get directly involved and say, "No, we're a news site. We're going to talk about it," kind of thing, and had to essentially fire everybody to get people who would actually be willing to like report news. But then he sold it off, and now it's just kind of back to the way it was, and
Right.
they brought Movie Bob back, which is he's a piece of garbage.
Oh, he's the worst, man. He's the worst.
Old Bob Chipman, Bobbity Bob Bob. I find it funny, like the guy who complains about Nazis so much has the most Nazi ideals that I've ever seen.
Right?
He talks about eugenics like it's a good thing.
I was about to say, the dude is pro-eugenics, man.
Yeah, he's
and nobody
pro-eugenics.
sees-
and when he went on that tirade the other week, he was like, he says, "I'm tired of these people. They took away the future I earned." I'm like, what did you earn? You stayed in your mom's basement and talked about movies, you fat fuck.
Oh, I missed this.
Oh yeah, well, he went on like a little tirade like a couple weeks ago. He was just all like talking about the future he earned, and he said, "I can't deal with these troglodytes anymore." And that's another thing. He uses big words to make himself sound smarter than he actually is.
Right.
And then somebody found a tweet for him from like 2016 where he saw like, "Yes, I went to McDonald's and bought a Mario toy." I'm like,
Exactly. It's like, dude, you haven't done shit.
I know. He's talking about the future I fought for. I was like, what wars have you been in, Mr. Chipman?
Yeah, exactly.
Which Gulf War, 1 or 2? Did you go to Afghanistan? Like, fuck you. I don't want to hear that shit.
Which ideals did you fight and protest for in the streets, sir?
Well, not in the streets, but
like
Twitter.
None of them.
Twitter's.
Well, yeah.
Mike, Twitter is a dangerous place. I mean, come on.
It is.
I mean,
in a way, it is.
I had somebody call me. I'll say it because I'll use it in quotes. One time, somebody called me a faggot. I didn't know what to do with myself. I never recovered. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, he said in 2019 we should all be in starships and going across the stars, but I'm stuck on this planet. And he said, I wish somebody could Thanos half the population out of existence right now. I said, I wish that we could Thanos everybody who has a commie leaning agenda, and we would be in a much better place.
Yes. Yes. How very liberal of you, Mr. Chipman.
I mean, I had a quote the other day because somebody made our new favorite House of Representatives member, Miss Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She made a tweet the other day about immigration, and she says, these people are leaving their countries in droves, and you know why? Climate change. So I have a friend, who lives in Venezuela right now. I said, so as soon as I saw that, I say, Caleb, how's the climate? I mean,
right.
And he's all like, well, it's about the same it is usually, dude. About 70 degrees, whatever. It's like, so is that why you want to leave and come to America and eat a burger and become an America stan? He's like,
exactly.
Oh no, it has to do with the socialist regime that I'm currently living under is ruining everything. He's like, yeah, I kind of figured. So I made the link. I think it's an obvious link. What do you think, Mike? I think if we got rid of the socialism and communists in the world, we fix the climate.
I think so. I think right now it would be 74 and sunny here instead of cold and rainy.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think if we did that, got rid of those people, we would have a better climate. At least we'd have less people to worry about.
Hey, it's an experiment. Let's see what happens. Let's test the results.
And also, somebody did it's funny, I made that as a joke, and people's like, well, you're not too far off. He said, look at when the USSR was at its height of power, they were the number one biggest polluter in the world, and China is now the number one biggest polluter in the world, both communist countries, which is like, see, I'm onto something. I'm on to something. Greenpeace, get up with me.
Right. Yeah, man, like I kind of fall into the whole Chris Rock thing of like there's some shit I'm liberal about, there's some shit I'm conservative about, but stuff like when it's the whole boy who cried wolf thing with Trump. It's like when you go after him for everything, I can't take anything that you're saying seriously.
I said it from the beginning when he pulled off the miracle, right, and won the election, and and they were already starting then, talking about he's going to do this. Da, 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 da. I said the problem here is, you idiots, that when he does do something wrong, nobody's going to believe you.
Exactly.
Because you think everything he does is wrong. I said, if Trump came, I said I said the other day, the best way to kill the whole Green New Deal that AOC came up with.
Yep.
All Trump had to do was support it. It'd be dead. Because they can't allow him to be right about something. Even though they want to be, virtue signaling and all this stuff, like, oh, it's a great thing. As soon as if he ever said, oh, I think it's a good idea, I'm going to support it. Like, no. It costs too much money. He's trying to bankrupt us. I was like, what's what we were trying to tell you? But
yeah, so like whenever like they try to go after him for environmental stuff, like you were saying, it's like, well, but what about China and the Middle East
and India, and
yeah,
like the people who are actually the biggest polluters in the world. We have shaped up a lot since the 80s.
Yes.
When we started implementing our own changes without other world governments getting involved. That's why, he pulled out the Paris Climate Accords. I was like, yeah, because they were useless. They just put more
They
restriction
were.
on us than anybody else. It's like, but we were already doing all right, so get out of here.
They were, and there were like several people in that community who were voicing better options than any of the stuff that was being discussed there,
Mm-hmm.
and they were just kind of being drowned out like white noise.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, no, I don't. Like everyone, like again, living here in Portland, like whenever I
Mm-hmm.
would say, yeah, I don't care that he did that, like they would lose their minds, and it's like, but those things were a sham, and like
Mm-hmm.
nothing would be accomplished with them anyway.
Exactly. It's like it was like the whole environment thing. People are like, well, what do you think? Yes, I want I want to have a good environment. I like going outside.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
like breathing.
exactly.
I live in the country in North Carolina. Yes, I like fresh air. I
Right.
actually enjoy that. I like going through the woods and not having a die off. Because
Right.
of pollution. Yes,
Right.
I absolutely love that stuff. Do I? I'm a bigger proponent. Like when you cut down trees, you replace those trees.
Hmm.
I don't think anybody would be against that. It's like, yes, absolutely. If you cut them down, replace them. Of course.
Right.
I'm all for green areas in cities. Like give nice big park. For going around and stuff like that. One day when technology's enough, when electric cars are way more viable, absolutely, sure.
Right.
Start the process now. Like I said, I've always said we need to focus more on the hybrid stuff before we try to jump to full electrical. Give time for the electrical stuff to be more viable and at a
Yeah.
better cost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that. Sure.
Like I said, people want it. There's too many people who want an all or nothing.
Right.
Instead of
And their idea of all is like, hey, maybe in 20 to 40 years we can get the planet to cool off a fraction of a degree.
yeah.
And it's like, no, that doesn't seem smart to me on any
Mm.
on any level.
Right. So, how about a middle ground where we just, we make subtle changes that'll make things better in the reality that we're in now,
Right. Right.
That's the big thing, let's face reality. And of course, I'm old enough. It sounds like you're old enough. I've been hearing since I was a kid, like, it's going to be irreversible if we don't do something within 10 years.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't that like one of the first episodes of Bullshit with Penn and Teller?
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
they went over the guy that really first started the whole environmental movement up, and they did the math that the reason he picked the date of like 1994 or whatever it was that he predicted it back in the 60s was because by then he'd be dead.
Yeah. So he can be held
Yeah,
accountable
and
for his, yeah.
right, and they just keep bumping it up 10 years.
Yeah. In 10 years, it'll
It's
be
like, come on.
irreversible. In 10 years, it'll be irreversible. In 10 years,
Right.
it'll be irreversible. And it's like,
Right.
for example, when they talk about like, beaches, they said, well, the sand dunes, they're going down every time I have a hurricane. Like, yeah, that's what hurricanes do. They don't.
Right.
Yeah, I've lived through those a few times. Hurricanes kind of knock the dunes down because that's what they do. You got a lot of, storm surge and intercoastal water and stuff, and that's going to knock your sand dunes down. You know what you do? You get a backhoe out there and you build the shit back up. Because the sand didn't go anywhere; it just got knocked down. Sand doesn't melt. I hate to tell you people, it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, like of all things, like I remember years ago, it was an episode of My Name is Earl that kind of like put all this stuff into perspective. Someone asks Crabman about environmentalism, and he's like, I think the idea that humans who have existed for a fraction of time on this planet can take into account the totality of what the Earth has been through, that just shows how narcissistic we still are.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And
Like we're only capable of seeing things in terms of like right now, you know.
And it's like I remember George Carlin had a bit about this where he was talking about the environment and stuff like that. And he was talking about like the
Right.
hole in he talked about the hole in the ozone layer, and he's like, and he brought up the fact that in history, if we are to believe science, which why not, that we've had bigger holes in the ozone layer when there were no people.
Right.
From volcanic activity and things like that. So
Forest fires, all that.
And forest fires. So it shows that the ozone layer can heal itself. You know, it wasn't a permanent thing, and I think it has. You know, you don't hear nobody talking about the hole in the ozone layer anymore.
Right. Yeah. And like his like exclamation point on that was like, the Earth isn't going anywhere. We are.
Exactly. Like he said,
the Earth will be fine.
Yeah, he said at one point, that was like the ending of his bit. He said the Earth could shake us off like a bad case of fleas.
Exactly.
And it would still spin, and it would still keep going. Because like we're what, you know, if you know, depending how you believe, you know, we're this planet is billions of years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're just a blip on that right now.
Yep.
Right.
So how know at one point, so the point is either we, you know, by the time there is if it ever, if the sun ever does go red giant and we all just, the heat death, either there will be no humanity or humanity will be so evolved and stretched across the galaxy it wouldn't matter, you know?
Right.
So,
right.
So, like I
in
said,
in either case, right here, right now, that kind of doesn't mean jack shit.
Exactly. Like, we're all going to be, we're not going to be here to see it, no matter what.
Right.
Nobody who's complaining now is going to be able to see what they want or think it's going to happen. So,
I just think it's people who can't deal with their own mortality.
That's all it is. Yeah. I mean, I think that's why a lot of people, get into. When I don't fault them. I mean, I want to do it too. You write. See, that's the thing. You write or create something. That's your immortality. The way I look at it. You know, complaining about stuff's not immortality. That's just you complaining about something.
I agree.
Like, I complained I didn't eat something at 12 o'clock yesterday at lunchtime. I skipped lunch. Oh man, I shouldn't have skipped lunch.
Right.
Who cares?
Right.
Okay, you skipped lunch. Just eat dinner. At
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, who cares, right? But if I like you created, you're creating Samurai and Dinosaurs. That's going to be something that'll stand the test of time. 50 years from now, there will still be a copy of Samurai and Dinosaurs somewhere.
There will on some space station somewhere on DS9.
Yeah, on DS9,
there will be a
copy
of Samurai.
Captain Sisko will be reading this rad comic. He's like, "Wow, this is cool." So yeah, I mean that's the thing. Creation. That's what I tell people. I was like, don't be so bitter if you want create something. Well, I don't have no skill. I was like, well, think about what you. People say they have no skill, are not really looking, right? There's something you can do to leave a mark. Even if it's a small mark, even if it's like only for your own descendants or your own community,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I can't stand it. I can't stand it when people say, "Oh, I'm just not creative." It's like, no. If you've ever told a lie or something along those lines at any point in your life, you're creative.
Mm-hmm.
You can come up with something.
It's like for example, my father, he's a plumber, right? That's all he's ever done. That's been his career. He's been doing it. He's 71 years old now. He's been doing it for 50 years. Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah. But what's really cool is when you're riding with him, like, we're going out, going to town or something. He'll say, "Oh, I did plumbing in that house. Oh, I did plumbing in that house. Oh, I remember doing something over there." See, he's left a mark, even though people might not ever know it.
Sure.
It's like, "Oh, my shit goes downhill. Great." Whoever did that is awesome. So, like I said, he left a mark. He found something he was good at and, went with it. He always preached to me. He said, if you're going to do something in life, do something you enjoy.
Yeah.
So, and that's why people say, well, I got this desk job and blah, blah, blah. It's like, do you enjoy it? No. Well, then do something else. Make it your mission to find something you enjoy and make that your career. Right. I mean, I think I've heard.
Yeah, I always. Go ahead.
I said I heard Ethan talk about that one time. He said I draw comics. I'll make that my career. He said he always said if Cyberfrog didn't work out, what would I do?
Mm-hmm. I always get depressed whenever I hear someone do the whole I got a desk job that I hate spiel. It's like, but. Man, you realize 40, 50 years from now, you're just going to be dead, right? And this is what you want to do up until then? Figure something out, man.
Yeah. Exactly. There's something, like I said, and it's like I always said, there's people out here with so much untapped potential, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't want to explore it. They think they're supposed to be, I'll use the term wage cuck, like.
Right.
And I know we were talking about like, this and that and the other, but I'm just like, that's what I'm saying, talking about doing something you enjoy. The folks that we're talking about with, in comics now, they don't enjoy what they're doing. They want to do something else. My friend Cab always likens it to, they want to work in Hollywood. That's their goal, right?
Yeah.
And they think comic books are going to springboard that to that, but that's not necessarily going to happen. That's why if you look at modern comics, and I'm sure you've noticed if you've read comics, is that a lot of them are now like they're especially the writing is spaced out like a sitcom.
Yep.
It's like they got they learned all of their ideas of human interaction from TV.
Yep.
They don't know how to interact with like how real people interact. Because like the script that we're working on now, Piper gave us some editing, and then another, it was actually Crystal. Crystal, gave us some ideas on our script.
Oh, that's cool.
And she said, make them sound more human.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. And so I started like doing, okay. It's a situation like, what would I say in this situation? Kind of thing. So
exactly.
And welcome Xavier. He's our other host. He was one of the ones
Hello.
I was talking about earlier.
Oh, nice.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, we are currently
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, we're currently live.
Sweet. Hello, people.
Yep.
Hello.
I caught part of you guys talking about, leaving your mark and doing creative things.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't agree with you more. Something that's always bothered me, too, is there are people out there that actually have no ambition to do anything. And I can't understand how such people can be. It's like, you have lots of opportunities. You have talent, and some people choose not to do anything with it. And I think part of that might be some of the pressure that well-meaning, well-intentioned parents might be putting on them. My kid brother told me that the reason why he has no dream, no ambition, is because mom and dad have been telling him he needs to find a career he'll be happy doing for 40 years.
Oi.
I'm like, why?
Right.
Nothing I've ever done I've imagined myself doing for 40 years. Nothing I'm doing right now I want to do for 40 years. You find something you like to do, or find something you can stand to do for 3 to 5 years tops, then go do something else. I'm ex-military. I did that for 5 years, and then I went and I did something else. I drove a truck for almost 4 years. Then I went and I did something else. Even the stuff that I like to do, I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. I want to do other things while I'm working on it.
Yeah, my dad worked as a title searcher, and if you don't know what that is, it's the most thankless job in the world. Like basically, when you go to buy a property, or if you're a company and you're going to like lease a building for your company, a title searcher is the one who researches the history of the land, helps establish the value of the land, the value of the property, all the stuff that you actually look at when you buy property.
Yeah.
That's what a title searcher does. He did that thankless job for 30 years and then spent 6 years living sick before dying. And it's like that's his whole life. Mm-hmm. And I don't get people with that mindset.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, I had to mention, like when my dad, I told you, doing the plumbing, he enjoys it. I mean, it's like, at least he found something he enjoyed. He said, I was good at it and I enjoyed it. He said, it gives me exercise, and he likes being outside. My dad loves outside. It's like, I get to be outside all the time. It's awesome. So I said, even the digging? He said, especially the digging. I'm like, can never get behind that one. No, I didn't like that too good. I was like, I don't know about that, Pops.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Oh, it's so funny. My dad is like, the other day, like our neighbor. That just tells you how like funny my dad is. Like they were my neighbor next, our next door neighbor. He was digging a drainage trench. Right, he's gonna basically do it. He dug it out. I think it was about 6 feet deep, and he was gonna put some pipe in the ground so it could drain out to the ditch. At the road. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said, my dad said, if you need any help, let me know. He had a guy there to backhoe. And I came home. I went to go get dinner because Mom didn't feel like cooking. So I went and got dinner. I come back. I couldn't find Dad. I was like, where's Dad at? Right? Walking around. I look out, and he's in the ditch digging. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm helping him out. I was like, you've worked all day, and then you come home and want to dig a ditch?
Some people love working with their hands.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah, I love it.
Like in fact, my neighbor said, he said, I've never seen a 70-year-old man sling a shovel like that. Like, it's just, like I said, and of course that's from that old, that's that I hate to say the actual boomers. I mean, we all call ourselves boomers here, but the actual boomer, baby boomer generation, that they still, some of them didn't, because they started getting to the, it's a very comfortable life now after the war, Yeah. But my dad grew up on a rental farm where he had to work all the time. It's like, if you can walk, you're priming tobacco, kind of thing.
Right.
Working livestock or whatever. So that's always been his mentality. It's like, if I'm doing something, I feel good, Like,
sure.
I remember one time he didn't work for a while, and he started doing things around the house. Like, because work was slow, so he just started doing things around the house. He painted the shutters. We had like a bench outside, and he went and like repaired the bench, gave it a coat of paint.
Sure.
And my mom said, I said, Mom, what are you going to do about this? He said, I'm going to give him a list. He keeps keep fixing stuff. Go ahead. I need this fixed too. Go ahead.
That's awesome.
But yeah, but we're still, I think we're all right. I will say, do something you like. And, Xavier, you got a good idea. I'm not saying you're not, like, do it 4 to 5 years, move on to the next thing. If that's what you want to do, that's up to you,
So it doesn't even have to be 4 to 5 years. You just get to the point where you do it until you don't want to do it anymore, and then go do something else.
Or you can just retire. Like, you've made enough money to retire. It's like, I'm done now.
The biggest hurdle for a lot of people is mental, is everyone's standing in their own way. Like, you have a lot of people saying that I want to travel to Europe, but I'll never ever get to go. Why? Round trip is like $1,000, and maybe $1,000 for the week, and maybe a couple $100 to spend the money for the week. There are ways to make it happen. Yeah, it sounds like a lot, and I'm kind of making it sound like it's not a lot, but when you actually start breaking it down and thinking about it, these things are doable.
Yeah.
The fact is, a lot of people are in their own way, their own mindset, where I'll never be able to do this because it's too hard, so I'm not going to try.
It's
right, and really what it means is they're just scared at the idea of going outside their comfort zone.
Yeah. It's kind of like, people talk about, they dog on streamers, right? People are like, all they're doing is playing video games. Well, no, maybe if they enjoy doing it and they're making money doing it, fine. Whatever.
Right. Yeah, I don't care.
My personal thing is, like, if you're a streamer, you need to be entertaining. Just don't sit there and play video games and think that I'm going to watch you. You got to at least be funny or something. It's like, let's see, Piper, you're not feeling well, but she did say, I just want to leave behind at least one good story / comic / book. I think, yeah, it's just that there's your mark,
I didn't want to interrupt and be a hole or whatever.
Are you still on about that guy?
Are you still back and forthing with him, by the way, or you finally just...
No, I stopped. He finally admitted, basically, that everything he said was irrelevant. He's just after me.
Oh, okay.
He
well,
just doesn't like
honest.
me. Yeah, it's the same guy that's made the same comment on every podcast and stream I've been on. So
wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
He finally found graded 0.5.
She's so hot. I want to tell her how hot that is, but I think that makes it sexist. She's so hot, she's making me sexist. That bitch.
Oh man, but yeah. I mean, let's like I said, talking about that. Let's be honest. If we all had like say let's I always use him for example. It'd be like Ethan Van Sciver, right? If we had his talent and to draw and stuff like that, and we could pull $800,000 on a book, I think we would all do that, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I do it every month.
Yeah, it's like how many times can I do this in a year?
Okay, I'd like to remind you that Stephen King, after being hit by an SUV in 1997, can't sit down for more than like 2 hours a day due to the extreme pain he feels. Mm-hmm. And yet he still manages to turn out, 2 to 3 obscenely long books every year?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
No excuse.
Yeah,
All right, but you really got to measure the quality of those books. Come on now.
Well, but still, he's producing. I think that's what he's doing.
That's
even
true.
Even if they're not great, at least he's producing. So
it's kind of like that clip on YouTube of George R. R. Martin interviewing him, and he's just like, "What are you doing?" And Stephen King's like, "I'm writing for a living. What are you doing?"
My favorite Gurm moment was when he walked into his publisher's office and he got mad. Secretary at the front desk had no idea who he was. And everyone said the same thing. If you showed up to work more often, maybe you might.
Exactly.
I remember, I forgot which late night TV show. I just caught it like one day, and I said, "Okay, that's kind of funny." And it was basically like they were doing a whole bit of like, what is George R. R. Martin doing besides writing his book? And you showed him. Here he is. He's having breakfast. It's like a hidden camera type thing. It's not really him, but it's just a guy that they made up to look like him, right? He's like, okay, here he is. Like, he's eating breakfast. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, he's sitting down in his typewriter. He's leaving his typewriter. And then the best part is like they show an outside shot, and it's just this guy. He's just like on a trampoline, jumping up and down naked. And they were like, "Oh dear." But then again, I mean, like I said, he's produced enough. He's got enough money, and of course, when with Game of Thrones, the series, I'm sure he's getting money from that. So, what's the rush for him?
Well,
right?
at the end of the day, once the series is over,
Mm-hmm.
what motivation does he have to finish the book? Other than,
exactly.
If the series ending sucks, the only motivation is I could do it. And in hindsight, this doesn't work, change.
Yeah. I mean,
wasn't that what Malin was saying? Like, he's going to wait till the show's done, and then he's going to be like, "Oh, it was never going to go that way. It was going to go this way the whole time."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they just did that because the fans had these theories.
I mean, I give him credit where it's due because the showrunners for Game of Thrones, when they had their meeting, do you know what he asked them for them to actually get the rights to do this?
Right, the Jon Snow question.
Yeah, he's like, "Who is Jon Snow?" And they got it right, and he said, "Okay." Which, if you read the books, it's kind of obvious.
Yeah.
In all honesty, it's like, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like, yeah. I mean, the only thing they've done in the show is like gave him a name of somebody else that wasn't. Yeah. Like his quote real name was actually another character altogether. So but that's just
who is Jon Snow? He's a whiny boy who knows nothing.
It's like look, he's the new king of the North. And now he's immediately bending his knee to somebody else. Oh, yeah, well, here we go.
What's this about those Northern Kings? They're either bending their knee or losing their head.
Yeah.
It's not a good track record.
I actually saw somebody say Rob wouldn't have done that. I said, well,
Rob bended the knee when his body collapsed after his head was removed.
True. And I said, but at least if Rob if he banged Daenerys, at least it wouldn't have been incest.
Exactly.
Yeah, sorry, spoilers. Spoilers. Jon Snow is actually a Targaryen.
Everyone knew it.
I don't even know what the hell that means. I don't care about Game of Thrones. I don't even know what that means.
Essentially, he's actually Daenerys's
nephew.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's a Ned Stark's nephew.
Yeah. He's a Stark and a Targaryen. Yeah.
Okay.
And the Targaryen family has a problem where their family tree is bamboo.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And also it goes like it's kind of like this: good king, crazy; good king, crazy; good king, crazy.
Nice.
And then when they had the
Decent
last crazy
predictable.
king, it was like, oh, okay. And then when then the new king comes along, of course, but his sister, but his wife was banging his brother, so she actually had his kids instead of her husband's kids. And so guess what? When the king died and Joffrey became king, guess what? He's incest, born of incest, so he's crazy. So we're picking that back up again.
Yeah.
All you need to understand is that hentai dojins happened, and the results were bad.
Okay, that's pretty much my extent of knowledge on Game of Thrones.
That's all you need.
Honestly,
That's all you need to know. No, that's it.
I have been asked to binge watch it recently, and I was like,
Stick with JoJo.
right?
So yes,
That's what I was thinking too.
I think we could all agree, right? Stick with JoJo. Just
yeah.
Yeah, you got to have a certain type of temperament for Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I figured. Like, it's set. A lot of its setting and stuff like that's great and all, but from what I've learned from it, I'm like, it's not for me. I'm sorry.
It's very. I mean, it's like it's kind of delineation. It's like, do you like high fantasy or do you like dark fantasy? Right. This is definitely dark fantasy. That's not. I mean, it's okay, but it's not my cup of tea.
It's a low magic campaign.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
I like
Like-
fantasy in general, so high fantasy and dark fantasy are fine. It's just all the other stuff I learned about it where I was like, I don't know if I can.
Yeah, when you start getting
up.
into like, how are we going to pay for this war and things like that? It's like I don't care about this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. The next question you have to ask is like, okay, do you like political fiction? And it's
That
like,
gets
if no,
boring. Yeah.
well, there you go.
The religions are also really weird in Game of Thrones because technically they're all right somehow. The old
Yeah.
gods exist. The red gods exist.
Mm-hmm.
I think hasn't there been proof of the 7?
I think so.
7 or the 9? I think it's 7.
I think you're right. Yeah. What was that one that it was in the series? Like I said, I just remember like what was it? God, what's the little guy's name?
Tyrion.
Yeah, Tyrion. Yeah, he had this whole like conversation with Varys about they were talking about the gods or something like that, and he said like he was having this whole thing. He said the drowned god wants to drown everybody, the fire god wants to burn everybody. And then Varys said something about like I heard of a goddess across the ocean who has 7 teats, and he goes like then we should sail there immediately.
And magic there is weird. It's like magic in Conan where it takes like a crap load of preparation, absurd ingredients, and it takes all day
Mm-hmm.
to do one thing.
That's fine though. But yeah, the themes and all the political bullshit, it sounded tiring and it just didn't sound like something that would keep my attention.
I'll put it this way: it's not worth binge watching. But if you got time, you want to watch an episode or two, that's fine.
After the first season, watch to the halfway point of a season and then stop.
Yeah.
Because what the way they've staggered it is basically the first season is the first book. The second season is like part of the second book and part of the third book. And then they kind of get into a good rhythm where the season ends halfway into the next story.
Oh, neat.
That way you don't get fall into the cliffhanger trap.
Or Mom
Wait.
says that Game of Thrones is a porno that forgot stories don't matter in porn. What?
You were going to say something, Mike? Sorry.
Yeah. Like my only thing with Game of Thrones is like the anal retentive writer side of me, like always like gets kicked into gear a little bit because like they do the Star Wars thing of like they'll just casually mention something amazing and then never actually show it, and I'm like, wait, why aren't we like? There was something in this first episode from the last season where some character says to another, like, "Oh, they're going to the lands where nothing can live," or something like that. I'm like, wait, why aren't we seeing that?
Yeah.
Like,
Aw.
Even in flashbacks, it was wild. Like, where they're mentioning things that happened in the war a long time ago, like just Ned Stark cavalierly walking around with his giant broadsword of Valyrian steel while walls are exploding. Yeah, that was a crazy day. Like,
right, and the whole Kingslayer thing. I'm
Yeah.
like, why didn't we see that?
Yeah, because I mean, that if it was me, that's how I would have started the whole show. That would have been the first scene,
Right.
You know, like Jaime killing the Mad King. You know, like
Right.
we don't know why. We just the king is dead and he's sitting there and he's like, I had to do it. I had to do it. I had to do it.
And then it would explain why, just that little scene. It could have been like one scene, and then like as coming in, Ned and God, what was the other king's name? Robert. Yeah.
Robert. Yeah.
So Robert and Ned come in and they see he's dead. So well, and then when we get to the scene, we actually get to the scene of them at Winterfell, and they show up, and you can understand why Ned doesn't like Jaime.
Yeah, exactly.
Because whereas Ned is like, he's like, well, I'm glad the king's dead, but you stabbed him in the back, dude. Come on, because that was the whole thing. Ned was about honor to a fault. That was his shtick. He was honor to a fault.
Right.
He was so about honor that when he had evidence that could lead to the arrest of Hillary Clinton, he went to Hillary Clinton and said it to her face to give her a chance to turn herself in.
Yeah. I mean, that's essentially the Cersei is basically Hillary Clinton. Like,
basically.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I mean, the first thing he should have done was like when he found out, not go to her, like, and not go to like the small council anybody, because those people, they're all dicks, right?
They're all bought too.
Mm-hmm. Because the only thing he had like evidence of was that that Joffrey and the people, they were not his, they were not Robert's kids, so he should have immediately informed Stannis. And then let that handle it,
Mm-hmm.
Because then Stannis' claim would have been a whole lot stronger because everybody would have known, before all that stuff. But no, Ned's got to be stupid. And and I said, why? Why do we always have to kill Sean Bean? Sean Bean always has to die, doesn't he?
Well, in all the movies that Sean Bean's in where he doesn't die, they tend to not be very good.
There was
you got to use your Sean Bean correctly.
There was a TNT show one time. Sean Bean was the star, and they actually had that tagline: "Will Sean Bean die?" I was like,
Michael Bean's the same way.
Oh, really? He always dies in yeah.
Terminator, The Rock.
Oh yeah.
Grindhouse. He dies in that.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was in The Rock. God, I'm so stupid.
Yeah, he was the guy that Michael Bay put in charge of the SEALs team. That's made up of actual SEALs.
Oh, the infiltration team that went in after Oh, he's the I cannot give that order.
Yeah, the entire team is all real SEAls, led by Michael Bean.
Well, I mean, that was just to make Sean Connery and Nick Cage more badass. So,
I mean, you gotta do something when it comes to Nick Cage.
Yeah, but with Sean Connery, he's just okay. He's Sean Connery. He's there. He's fine.
Right.
Yeah, just put his face. You could put a picture of Sean Connery, and everything would have been fine.
We didn't get a good first impression of Nick Cage in that movie where he's doing his girlfriend. Oh yes, that is just amazing. Oh, you're great.
That is, you realize you just summed up every Nick Cage performance.
They're gonna cast me as Superman. I'm telling you. Now turn around. There we go.
Now turn around. There you go. God damn it.
That's awesome.
He was a good in Face Off, though. Give him that.
Yeah.
Having to play like the dual character, it was, pretty good.
I don't know. I give him shit, but I love Nick Cage. Like he's great in adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
I like him. I like him in The Rock. Like,
I actually like
weird dude.
I liked him in the first Ghost Rider movie. I thought he was all right. Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
I think it's important to remember that there's 3 different Nick Cages, and the problem is that sometimes the wrong one ends up in the wrong movie. You got, I'm taking this role very seriously, Nicolas Cage. This job is just a paycheck to me, Nicolas Cage. And batshit insane, let's have fun, Nicolas Cage.
Right.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Like, Ghost Rider 2? Oh, that's batshit insane, Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Ghost Rider 1? A little bit more, I'm taking this role seriously.
Yeah, he's
sure.
because I think he said like Ghost Rider's like his favorite character, and that's why he always wanted to be Ghost Rider. So
Yeah, I was like, wasn't that hot? Yeah, actually.
Which is funny because who was it? Who's his co-star? Was it Michelle Perez?
No. What's
Or
Ava Mendes?
Ava Mendes is like, okay, this girl is like what 20 years younger than he is, and like
Right.
we're supposed to believe that like they grew up together.
Yeah.
And she was like smoking hot, and he's just like this like middle-aged man.
She's interviewing him before he does the biggest jump of his career. Hey, how you doing? I heard you move. Are you scared about jumping over these helicopters with no safety gear? So, you changed your hair. It looks nice.
That's awesome.
It's kind of like how he, later in his career, like how Jack Nicholson didn't play a part; he was just Jack Nicholson.
Right.
Kind of like he was in Batman. It was less that he was the Joker; it was just that the Joker was Jack Nicholson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that with Nick Cage. It's like it's less that Nick Cage is playing a role; it's like the role is like formed for Nick Cage.
That's why I was very disappointed with Sorcerer's Apprentice. Like, this is the perfect time, Cage. Just have fun and have a blast. And it's like, he's having a little fun, but he's also taking it very seriously, and I feel like we're missing out.
Mm-hmm.
Nicholson hit peak Marlon Brando to me in The Departure.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember watching The Departure and like the whole time I'm like, he's full on Marlon Brando. Like I'm just waiting for him to be sitting in a pool, like in The Score. And sure enough, like all of a sudden there's a scene where he's just sitting on like the edge of a dump truck or something, and it like almost shot for shot, it's the exact same thing. Like just this whole Marlon Brando thing of like, I don't care.
You're right. Yeah. It's kind of like how later, like, what's his name? God, I can't remember. He did World of Worlds, the radio thing, and of course did.
Orson Welles.
Yeah, Orson Welles.
Yeah.
You could tell he was getting to that point in his life too. Like near the end, he was just like, "I'm just here," like,
Right.
Like when he was like his last role was in Transformers the movie. He was Unicron, right?
Exactly.
And he just sounded like Orson Welles reading a part. Still badass. Still great, but still, it's like
right. Can we get another take of that? No.
And you see, that's why it's important that if you're getting bored or tired of what you're doing, find something else you can do that makes you happy.
Full circle.
Full circle. We came back around. And I guess this will be a good time to probably end the stream. But once again, Samurai and Dinosaurs is in demand. It's still, you can still get you a copy right now. Let's see did you make any money in the last 2 hours? Like, did we help out at all? Let's see. No, but but we tried. There was only 4 people watching, but we tried.
It's all good.
People will check it out later. They always do. So, like I said, check them out. Do you have any more last words for tonight?
Wow.
Flat Earth is real. No.
Nice.
Yeah. So I hope everyone that checks this out will consider backing us. We're really pushing for that 12,000 goal because we have all the artists lined up, and we'd really love to add the pinup gallery to the book, and that won't be increasing the price to you guys at all. So yeah, consider supporting us if you'd love to see, a 110-page book go all the way up to a 120-plus page book and be filled with lots of awesome art.
Very good.
Heck
very
yeah.
good. Very good.
Nice.
Very good. And like I said, the link is in the description below, guys, when you check this out. And I'll probably leave it in there for a long time because I forget to take out. I forget to take links out. Like one time, I just kept adding things, and I had to eventually I got to stop doing this. I had like 5 campaigns listed in the, and it just every night it just had those campaigns in there. I was like, well, I'm doing my part. But right now, you're the only one. I can say that for sure. You're the only one that's in there. So.
Well, hey, I welcome the company if it happens.
There you go. So yeah. Like I said, guys, check it out. And later on, in about 25 minutes, I'll actually have a video going up. If it sounds if the thing is that at the end of that video, I'm gonna be promoting the stream that's happening right now. So because I thought the video would go up later or earlier in the day, but I had
damn time travel.
Well, I had a power. It was not really a power outage, but I had a power blinking, so it kind of stalled it, so I had to restart it and all that stuff. So it messed me up. But like I said, definitely check out Samurai and Dinosaurs. Check out that video when it comes out. Like, comment, and subscribe. You have any social media stuff that you want to shill out while you're?
Yeah, of course. You can find me on Twitter at chibi_Mike. And you can check out my YouTube channel at the Chibi Mike, all one word, or you could just look up Comics in Current Year, which is the main show that I run on my channel.
Very nice.
Ooh.
I might have to go subscribe to that. Check.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a follow on Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
But yeah, so that's it for tonight. We will be back Monday, and I'm sure we'll have something to talk about because that's everybody wiles out on the weekend. So, so
weekend drama is best drama.
Yep.
Yes.
It gives us plenty of material for Monday, right? That's how it works. But
yeah.
So anyway, thank you guys for showing up. Anybody who watches in the future, we appreciate you watching. Let everybody know about the show. Like, comment, and subscribe. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you on Monday.
Later.